Alrighty, guys. I just need to quickly check to see that these headphones are actually working, and they're not. We'll get those plugged in. Okay, we are good to go. So tonight's topic, now just a heads up for all the ongoing calls inside this membership hub, guys. On the live call, obviously there was a bunch of people that couldn't make it tonight, which is fine. If you cannot make the live calls, there will always be a replay uploaded into this membership hub. At the same time, if you're available for the group calls, please make the effort to jump on, because we'll do a catch up, check in with everyone. We'll all share a small win, challenge and lesson from the week. And it'll just be great to network with everyone and leverage off each other's journey and progress and continue to motivate each other and keep each other accountable. Now, after we do the check-ins, as of what you're watching right now, we'll dive into our kind of topic of the week. And it's not going to be a super long call. It's only a 30-minute commitment. And I'm going to kind of go into detail about a different topic each week. Now, our first topic is around discipline, and a few of the tools that I find actually allow me to stay disciplined, and one in particular being cold showers. So what I want to do now is just give you an explanation of, I guess, the benefits and the actual purpose of the cold showers. But we're also going to touch on some breath work as well, and the benefits that I've seen with breath work and how you guys can utilize it to not only benefit your physical health, but more importantly, your mental health. And as you would have seen so far from this coaching, I'm not interested in just helping you guys eat and train. I want you to get the absolute most out of this time working with me and in all areas of your life. So whether it's relationships, finance, career, materialistic goals, whatever it is, I think the biggest thing, as we will go through in another week in specifics, but one of the biggest things that I've noticed over the last couple of years, and something that I've changed, is that so many people are on autopilot. Right? What I mean by that is we base our life off past conditioning, past experiences, our environment, what people tell us we can and can't do. And we just get to this point where every day just kind of rolls into the next, and we just take life as it comes and we react instead of being proactive and intentional. Okay, so through these calls, through the mindset work, and even through the specific fitness stuff we do, I want you guys to really, really understand that you can live the fucking life that you want to live if you get intentional about it and remove the limiting beliefs. Start thinking outside the box. Start thinking illogical. Sorry, fuck. Start thinking illogical, and create the life that you want. Whether there's a saying that goes, whether you believe you can or whether you believe you can't, either way you're right. Okay, so it all starts up here, and I know it's cliche. I know it's easier said than done, but I genuinely think it's not easier said than done. I think it is very simple. We need to focus in on the things that we do want to happen. We need to create the life we want. And it all starts up here. You might put it down on paper, start reaffirming it daily, being consciously aware of the life that you want to live without any restrictions, without any limitations. Okay. Just purely creating what we want. What we focus in on is what we get more of. Now, from the fitness side of things, even when it comes down to just daily life stuff, all right? So whether it's career-wise, whether it's having hard conversations with your partner or a business partner or a friend or whoever it may be, family member, whether it's showing up to the gym on the days you're meant to train when it's fucking raining outside and you've had not much sleep and you really just can't be fucked in the morning, all right? Whether it's sticking to your calorie targets when you're having a rough day and you just don't feel like it. Everything in life requires discipline. But when we turn them into habits, it doesn't necessarily feel like discipline. It becomes part of who we are, but that doesn't happen overnight. Okay, so I often think about discipline like a muscle, and it really is. Just like if we go and train our biceps, when we first start training biceps, they're not very strong. They're probably not very big. And if you're like me, they're still not very big. But in time, as we continue to train that muscle, it's going to develop. It's going to need to adapt to the stimulus that we provide it with. Okay, it's going to grow, it's going to get stronger, and it's going to be able to handle more load. And it's going to get to a point where it's not something that we feel like a chore. It feels like a chore. It's something that we genuinely enjoy, because we know that by sticking with it and training that muscle, just like discipline, the more we do it, the more it becomes part of who we are. And it shows the progress, the results start to show. Okay, so with discipline, it's very fucking easy to just shy away from the things that we know we should do. And I think with discipline as well, it's often things that we know we should do, but we also could easily get away with not doing them. So if we don't do these things, it's not necessarily going to negatively impact our life. But if but by doing them, it can have a drastically positive outcome or change on your life. Okay. And again, that could be training. It could be putting in the extra work on a side hustle you're working on. Okay. It could be, as I said, having hard conversations. It's about decision making. And the better we get at doing what we said we were going to do, following through with what we said we were going to do, the better our life gets. We become a great example for those people around us. We start to carry momentum. All right. Again, with discipline, it's almost like investing financially. Right. We continue to make small investments, and that compounds and that grows. And these little small efforts that we don't even think about. Like, I have an investment fund that I put money into each month. It's an automatic payment that comes out. When I first started doing it, it was like, oh, I could really use that money for something else. And I'd be looking at how much it had compounded. It's like, well, this is doing fuck all. 2 years down the track, when these amounts go in every single month, it's something that I don't even think about. And then I go and look at my investment, and it started to compound and grow. Okay. Discipline is very much the same. Now, the hack, or the number one activity or tool that I find that allows me to build on my discipline and has changed my life in so many ways, is having a cold shower first thing in the morning, and getting to the point where it's a non-negotiable. It's not something that there's how do I explain it? It's just part of who I am now. But the reason why it's so powerful is because 9 times out of 10, I don't want to fucking do it. So I get up quite early for work. I typically get up between, ranges between 4 and 6, most days between 4 and 5. Now, in Melbourne as well, I know some of you guys are living in Melbourne. Getting out of bed at 4, 5, even 6 or 7 in the morning on a winter's day when it's cold as fuck outside, may have not had much sleep, and you get out of bed, and the last thing I feel like doing is getting in a cold shower. Okay. And that's the feeling every single day. Like, I'll use this morning as an example. I was in the shower, and I'll go through the details about this cold shower stuff in a second, because I've got it as a habit for most of you guys, and there is a reason behind it. And hopefully after watching this, you really gravitate towards it and take some accountability and take some responsibility about actually doing it. Okay. So this morning, having my cold shower, I was having a normal shower, sorry. And for 10 minutes, I reckon, I sat there telling myself reasons as to why I shouldn't do the cold shower today, coming up with every little fucking excuse as to why it doesn't need to happen today. You're not feeling that well. Maybe the cold shower will make you sick. You can do your cold shower later on when it's warmed up a little bit and you're not so tired, or you're not so cold from getting out of bed. All these fucking excuses. And that battle happened in my mind for 10 minutes. And by the time I got out, I'd done the cold shower. That's how I made sure I ticked it off, because it's a non-negotiable for me. The feeling that I get after doing that is something else. It's like, it's a sense of pride, it's a sense of achievement, productivity, but it's just adding an investment to the bank. It's like, all right, you said you're going to do this, you didn't want to do it, and you did it anyway. Now, with the cold shower, in terms of what you should be doing with it, I always recommend is having a regular shower first, right? You have to turn into a complete freak and absolute bloody military robot to be able to do a cold shower. It's like, jump in, do your regular shower first. Okay, tick that off, do whatever you need to do. And then we're going to finish on complete cold. Now, this is where it ranges, and you can build up to this, right? I like to try and stick to the complete cold for about 2 minutes, or at least a minute and a half. What I want you guys to do, for starters, if you haven't done this previously, is just 10 deep breaths. Then we're going to build it up to 20. Then we're going to build it up to 30. And then you're going to get to the point, guys, because I'll talk about how you actually should, focus on your breath and your mindset while you're doing the cold shower in a sec. But it's going to get to a point where this is something you love. It's still a hard decision to make every morning, but it's something you love. So what we want to focus on when we're in that cold, the first initial instinct is to just like tighten up and start to fucking, fuck, this is cold. You move around, you're like tensing up a bit. When you do that, it's going to feel worse, I promise. So instead, we're going to focus on the breath. Just focus on controlled breathing. Big, deep inhale, and then let the oxygen out. Let the exhale out. Big, deep inhale, let the exhale out. And just breathe into it. Now, the first 30 seconds is going to be shit. All right. It's cold. That's the whole point. There's a reason why people don't do this. It's because it's difficult. But I'm building this community of people who do the hard shit, do the shit that people don't want to do because they know what they're going to get on the other side of it. So we breathe into that cold and that discomfort, right? Now, I promise you, if you continue to stick with this and you focus on your breath and you focus on allowing your mind to be present, It gets to a point at about 30 seconds in for me where it just feels warm. It doesn't even feel cold. Okay, now, why the fuck would we do the cold shower? Aside from building the discipline, like I've just said, physiologically, great for inflammation. Physiologically, it works a lot better than a coffee. It wakes you the fuck up every single time you get in there. Physiologically, great for blood flow. All right. Physiologically and mentally, it allows you to deal with external stress a lot quicker. Okay. When you're under cold water, your body kind of goes into fight or flight. That means our cortisol and our stress levels are up. Now, the more we do this, the better our body gets at responding to stressful situations. So when all of a sudden there's something that happens in just everyday life that is stressful, someone who doesn't do cold showers and doesn't teach their body to deal with stress reacts to it, and it has a negative impact, and it lasts a lot longer. Someone who does tell you what the cold shower doesn't do is it doesn't allow you to fucking speak any better, quite clearly. But what the cold shower does is it allows you to deal with stress a lot quicker and more efficiently. Okay, so when something comes up, instead of it completely derailing your day or your week or your month or your year in some cases, it allows you to deal with it in a much more efficient and effective way. All right, now on top of that, you get out of that shower and the last thing you feel like doing is being fucking lazy because you've done the hardest thing for the day. You're feeling physiologically and mentally just ready to go. So that then starts to carry momentum, and we build that into the next thing, into the next thing, into the next thing. All of a sudden, we've had a really productive day, and it all started with one hard decision first thing in the morning. Now, the reason why we do it in the morning is because it sets the tone for the rest of the day. As I said, there's not going to be many things that are more difficult than having a cold shower first thing in the morning. Okay, so when you've got to respond to an email later in the day, when you've got to have that hard conversation, when you've had a long day at work and you still got to go and train, that decision becomes easy because you've done the hard shit and you're telling yourself, you're teaching yourself that I will follow through with what I commit to. Because that's the fucking problem with most people, is that so many people do the talk, but they don't walk the walk. Okay, talk the talk, don't walk the walk. The talk is useless. It doesn't achieve anything. You can tell everyone about how big your goals are. You can tell everyone about what you're going to do, what you plan on doing, all this type of stuff. But if you don't follow through with it, what good is any of that talk? It's useless. So that is the reason why we do the cold showers. And I want you to really embrace this. I want you guys to post in the group when you're doing your cold showers. All right. I want you to really take some pride in doing the hard shit and just watch how much it transforms your life in many ways. Now, the other part of this before we wrap up is breath work. So the breath work will allow you to actually control your breathing a lot better in the shower. Okay. And ice baths are fantastic too. I've got an ice bath at home. I try and do that semi-regularly. If you've got access to one, even better. To be honest, sometimes I find the cold shower harder because you've got to force yourself to stay under, whereas in the ice bath, you can kind of just sit in and there's not really fucking many places to go unless you just get out completely. Now, with the breathwork inside this membership hub, there is a section here for breathwork sessions. There's a 10-minute one with Wim Hof, which I would highly recommend giving a try. Again, the breathwork, what you're doing is you're releasing, what are you doing? You're increasing the level of oxygen in the body. You're also sending like an adrenaline response, but it has nowhere to go because you're holding your breath, right? When we do all this, it actually levels out our hormones. So our cortisol and stress levels actually level out and come back to a neutral standpoint at the end of that breathwork session. So you're going to feel like the physical sensations, as Wim says in some of his videos, or even with Ella, also known as the Breath Boss. She's recorded the 20-minute one for you guys as well. You're going to feel these physical sensations, but you're also going to feel a sense of clarity, of being present, of feeling calm, of feeling productive, of feeling, relaxed but energetic in a way as well after this breathwork session. And very much the same as the cold shower, it allows you to be present and just be in the moment and get good at doing that. Like the cold shower, for example, it's pretty fucking hard to think of anything else other than that water when you're in there. Okay, so that's why it's so good for mental health. For people, Wim Hof is a prime example. The reason he got into cold water therapy and breath work is because he was struggling with depression. And it allowed him to take his mind off of everything that was clouding his mental state and just focus in on what he was doing right then and there. Become completely present and take back that power and really control your thoughts and your breath, obviously. The breath is a really powerful thing. And there's going to be a point in time that, down the track, I'm gonna get Ella to run us through a rebirth session, which is something that I've done with her. It's like a 2 hour long breathwork session, which will change your life. It's unbelievable. It's very similar. I've heard, because I haven't actually done the alternative, but it's very similar to something like an ayahuasca or like a DMT type experience or mushroom trip, really, sometimes. So the breathwork is fantastic. Now, whether you're meditating or doing breathwork each day, completely up to you. But if you haven't tried any of the breath stuff, I would highly recommend it. It's a tool that I use quite often in terms of if I'm overwhelmed, if I'm nervous, even if I'm lethargic, I'll do a breathwork session to counteract that. And all of a sudden I feel so much better. I feel my ability to be present, to to problem solve as well. Like lately in my meditation and breathwork sessions, I've been using them to take a step back and just stop and allow myself to have some clarity and just remove myself from all the constant thinking or the constant doing. And I actually have a lot of really good ideas, whether it be business ideas, whether it just be stuff that I need some clarity on, comes to me in these periods of time where I'm just actually allowing myself to stop, which is something that we don't do enough of. Now, there is going to be resistance to the breath work. There's going to be resistance to the ice baths and the cold showers. And that is your number one sign to push through and just fucking go for it. Okay, remember that growth and change happens on the other side of discomfort and the unfamiliar. All right, the resistance. When we're in that state, that is the best sign for us to say that, fuck, we're not used to this. This is the unknown. This is the unfamiliar. This is uncomfortable. It's resistance. And on the other side of that is growth. If it's something that feels familiar, if it's something that feels comfortable, all right, if it's something that we feel safe in doing, and mind you, all this stuff is obviously safe, but if it feels safe in the way of like, this is something that like your brain and your body know this experience, nothing new comes from that because you've already experienced it. And that's why things are the way they are. Now, it's not necessarily to say that things might be bad for you, but it's like on the other side of resistance is growth. So I want you guys to lean into that, all right? I want you to share inside the group, inside the app or through the Facebook group, how you found this call. I'd love your feedback. Let's get it as active as possible. And leverage off each other. Like, let's use each other to stay accountable and to level up together collectively. Okay, so I hope you've enjoyed this first one. I'm pumped to have started this and I'm really looking forward to each week. Any suggestions around stuff that you want me to dive into, please let me know. But this will be the format. Check in, maybe a challenge for the group here and there, leverage off each other, then go into some educational content to add as much value as possible. So thanks for tuning in, guys. You're legends. And I can't wait to chat to you again very soon.